I've been in and around food all my life. My dad was a food technology major at New York University, and he became a USDA inspector. Some of my fondest memories was the summer of 1959. He was stationed on the coast of Maine inspecting blueberry factories. And I took a part-time job working in the kitchen at the Maine Sailing School. And in exchange for working in the kitchen, I got free food and I learned how to sail. And then when I got to college, one semester, it happened that I had no morning classes. And I stayed home and I watched Julia Child. And it was really fascinating, and I kept trying to cook her dishes, and I just started getting into cooking and eating. I took a job at ABC Liquors, and the store was divided in half. The front half was the retail store, and that's where I was learning about wine and stuff. The back half was a bar. And then one day some guy came in with a beer cooler, and it smelled fantastic. And he had slabs of ribs, maybe 25 slabs of ribs, wrapped in aluminum foil. Every Thursday or Friday, this guy would show up and he would sell out all the ribs, and it was fantastic. And I fell in love with ribs, and I wanted to learn more about them. So I started asking around, and I found out in the section of town that was mostly black that there was a barbecue joint in there called Y.T. Parker's Barbecue. And the college boys, the white college boys, never went into that section of town. I went in there. Y.T. knew how to make barbecue, and he did it over a concrete pit in back, and I learned how to cook from Y.T. Parker on an open pit, deep south. So I got into wine in a big way, and I became the wine manager of a liquor store, and then I became the wine buyer for Foremost Liquors in Skokie, Illinois. I was hired by the Chicago Tribune to write a weekly column about wine. I wrote a column about wine for the Washington Post. And with all this wine stuff, I was always eating these wonderful foods. And so I switched from liquid food to solid food. I went from wine to barbecue. And I started getting into barbecue and grilling in a deep way. And in 2005, I opened up AmazingRibs.com. And in those days, there were no books on barbecue. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna write a book about barbecue. And it became a huge hit, a New York Times bestseller. The website is huge. It's one of the most popular culinary websites in the world. I got into the science stuff, and that was what we did for the last book. But I did my master's in art. I went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and I got deep into art and technology. So I got my master's in photography. And my dad had been a food technology major. So I was into science. My mom was an artist. She was a commercial artist. So I got the art side from mom, the science side from dad. We've always been fond of dogs. We've had dogs all our married life. And we heard about Leader Dogs for the Blind. It's one of the largest guide dog schools in the country. And we applied for the program, and they interviewed us, and we proved to them we knew a little bit about dog training. And so they gave us a 7-week-old puppy, along with instructions on how to raise it for being a guide dog. We fell in love with Sport. Sport was the coolest dog, a little black lab, and he would break into the garden and eat the jalapenos. So after a year, we have to send them back to the Leader Dog School, where they get 4 or 5 months of advanced training. Now, up till now, the dog has been training, and training's fun. Training's a game. Somehow or other, these dogs understand that my new master is different. My new master is not like my old master, Meathead, who raised me for a year. Not like the trainers at the Leader Dog School. My new master is blind. And it's not a game anymore, it's work. And I get up in the morning and I have my master's life in my hands, and I can't screw up. Well, Sport, it turns out, was given to a woman from Mexico City who loved to cook with jalapenos. Is that poetic or what? For my next book, it's called The Meathead Method, Barbecue Science Meets Art. And so it's the methods that I teach, the methodology, the procedures that you're gonna learn in this video series, the techniques, the science, meets art. I'm known as kind of a geek, and there's a lot of food science. And if you watch these videos, you're going to hear me talk a lot about the chemistry and the physics of what happens when heat hits meat. We're going to do some amazing things. We're going to cook a porchetta, which I've seen cooked in this country, but never the way it's cooked in Italy. And today it's going to be cooked perfectly. We're going to do a ratatouille with summer vegetables right out of the garden. We have a big vegetable garden. My wife is chief gardener. Oh, it's so wonderful having fresh herbs and fresh fruits and vegetables. And we're going to do the most amazing steak. We're going to start it in a sous vide bath, and I'll explain what that is. And then we're going to grill it over the high end of a charcoal chimney, as hot as the back end of an F-16. Anything you cook indoors, you can cook outdoors, only better.